Good morning. It is Wednesday Wellness, and thank you for joining Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We are here for you, and so glad to be. You already know our motto. Our motto is get well, stay well, and be well. Good morning, Tim. Thank you for joining us. And where are you listening in from? Good morning. And thank you for joining us. For all of you that are newly joining us, we are Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We're streaming everywhere. Go check it out. If you want to hear previous podcast discussions, we are live and interactive, and subscribe to our YouTube page. I am wonderful. Thank you so much. Wednesday Wellness is all about your well-being. And today we are inspired by this thought. Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself. How many of you are taking care of yourselves? If you are taking care of yourself, then we want to keep encouraging you to keep at it. And for 2024, you're going to hear us say that we accept the challenge to do 2024. Let's challenge ourselves to stay well, get well, and be well. Vibe Talk Facing the Lion is always able to be connected with. Our line for our radio talk show is 661-503-8993. We're here for you. Did I say that right? We're here for you. How are you all doing today? When we ask that question to someone, do we really stop to listen to the answer? Because listening tells you a lot. Sometimes even silence tells you so much. So, how are you? This is Wednesday Wellness, and we're going to be talking about why it is important. When we're talking about Wednesday Wellness, your wellness, because sometimes, you know what we believe and think? We're worried about how everybody else is doing, but we tune our own wellness out. That isn't to say that we don't care about people, because we do care about people. And I know I do. But let's think about how you're feeling. And if you're listening today, how is your ability to be able to feel good inside of yourself and outside of yourself? And when you are facing things, are you able to flourish emotionally, socially, physically, and intellectually? Do you still have the ability to go through your highs and lows in life, because you will have them. You will have them. But your well-being is going to come into play. Your well-being is going to come into play, and as you think about your well-being, I want you to get real serious about it. I want you because we have to think about that. Good morning, Trish. How are you?
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing better than yesterday.
What was yesterday like for you? I know that they had a winter storm there.
Yesterday was completely frightening. Um, it's amazing because I was talking about a winter storm that we went through in the past, and yesterday the wind was like very heavy, swinging the trees around aggressively, and it's like, wow, it's amazing that we got through it.
I'm glad you did. And for those of you who don't know it, South Carolina had a winter storm. What's today looking like out there, Trish?
Today it is sunny today.
Okay, you got through it. Wow. We are talking about how we're feeling today. And our Vibe Talk question is, how are you feeling today? That's simple. Our call-in number, 661-503-8993. Why does it even matter to talk about our well-being? Why should it matter to any of us to even be bothered with talking about that? What do you think, Trish?
I think it matters because every day there is a trial for every day. And when you're going through something, it depends on how you perform in what you're doing by your well being. If you're not feeling up to it, you would perform poorly because you're not feeling like yourself today. You're feeling sad or depressed. But if you are in your feel good mood, then you perform at your best effort.
Yeah, thank you for that. We talk about our well-being, and we talk about Wednesday wellness. And I thought, because we're just into the first week of January 2024, when we consider our well-being, we're also thinking about better health. Don't you want to be in better health physically, mentally, emotionally, in your mindset, which is intellectually? Don't you want to stop saying you're okay when you're really not? Because we want you to understand the empowerment of your well-being. We thank you for joining Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. So your well-being and how you view it has an effect on you. I'm going to ask you again, how are you feeling? We're going to be right back.
Feel free to be interactive and tell us your stories. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, YouTube, and so much more. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Go give it a shot.
You want to have a one-on-one or group session with me? Get with me and directly call our Vibe Talk. You also may leave a voicemail and texting 661-503-8993 for a one-on-one personal consultation customized for you. We are back, and we thank you for joining us wherever you are listening. Please let us know how you are feeling today. That's our Vibe Talk question. So how are you feeling? Let us know where you're from. We're so happy to have you guys join us. And thank you for your support. So we're talking about your well-being, your wellness. When you think about your well-being, does it really matter? You have to answer that question yourself. We talk about all kinds of things here, and we have very raw and real conversations. We talk about feelings and emotions. See, we can talk about other feelings and other people's emotions, but let's get into accessing our own emotions. When we are thinking about wellness and our individual wellness, being able to access your well-being or your being well. Good morning, Seth. Good morning. It helps us to be able to cope. Life is full of stress and uncertainty and change. But now when we are dealing with ourselves, we know that life tends to make us feel, make us express, and along with feeling and expressing, we have a wide range of emotions. If we could, or if we would, we can list our emotions that we're feeling. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Where are you listening in from? I see you saying hello. And hello to you, too. Thank you for joining Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We're talking about well-being. Our Vibe Talk question is, how are you? Where are you listening in from? We have our audience, and we are live. My co-host Trish and I on Facebook. If you haven't heard about Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, check us out. Check out our reels. You can hashtag them. You can look them up on Google. You can even ask Siri and Alexa to listen to the latest podcast episode of Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. Don't forget to support our YouTube channel. So now, how many of you have prioritized taking care of your wellness, your being well, getting well, and staying well. How many of you have prioritized that? Or are we still too busy worrying about if so-and-so is well at the demise of ourselves? I am not in any way promoting that we don't care for or about people. What I'd like to see is all of my clientele and you out there that listen to us on a daily basis or however you're listening to us, to think about what would it look like for you? What would it look like for you to actually ask yourself, how am I doing? You know, we have said so many times, I can speak for myself. Excuse me. How am I feeling? Or nobody cares about how I'm feeling. How many of you have said that? That nobody cared how you're feeling.
I have.
And what was that like for you?
I felt alone
Yeah.
especially when I said that, because it did actually feel like nobody cares how I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling. But I did realize that it seemed like nobody cares because I didn't talk about my feelings. I put on a mask of saying that I am okay when I wasn't, when I was helping other people.
Yeah. So did you feel like those people were important or more important than you were?
Yes, I felt like they're more important than I was.
Yeah. See, when we access ourselves, we learn so much about ourselves. Here it is. When we think about our own well-being, when we think about our own emotional, mental health, our own wellness, it is important. And it is not a sign of weakness. It's also something that everyone has linked to a probable probable probability from a physical point of view. We want to be able to access. Everyone has something of a physical nature in health. That's what it is to take care of ourselves or to know about our well-being. It isn't anything to be shameful. Now, when we think about our being well, it is not something that we do for one day. You know, sometimes you'll have a World Fitness Day, everybody gets in the gym. It's more than just a physical thing, continuation of your wellness. It isn't something that's all in your mind. We think about negativity. Sometimes we can think more negative thought than we do physical thoughts. So our welling ourselves is not something negative, nor should it be to either of you that are listening to this podcast. It should be more positive. It should be worth your time. Did you hear me? A little closer. I said it should be worth your time. Something that we all should think about. Giving thought that it's part of your being human. Something you need to do. Something you need to look after. And looking after could mean that your way of looking after your well-being is going to be different from the way someone else looks out for their well-being. I have worked with a lot of people who say I'm tired. And yet when they say I'm tired, my tired and their tired is two different things, but the common core is the feeling that we all can relate to being tired. And that's what we have learned here in Vibe Talk about our well-being, how we look at it. I want you, because today is Wednesday Wellness, to write down 5 things that you want to attain for your well-being. And for those who send it in, I will definitely connect with you. 5 things. Write down 5 things of what you want your well-being to look like. If you have a lot of work, secularly, I want you to think about how you want to change that. And not always saying, but I have to. All of us have to work. But is there going to be one day or 1 hour out of your work day that you're going to well yourself? Aren't you worth it to be able to get rest? What's your favorite TV program? But I'm too tired, you say. When I get home, I'm tired. That may be true, because I too feel like that during a day's busy schedule. But you will find when you make time to well yourself, you're taking care of your well. Aren't you worth it? Let's get real. Let's get real, because our wellness is a real thing. Getting real with ourselves, not demising it. When we talk about self-care in here, that can also fall under the category of your wellness, getting well, being well, and staying well. Because if you're not well, it affects you emotionally, physically, mentally, and psychologically. So we are not talking about being selfish. Life can be overwhelming. And again, I cannot stress this enough, that we overlook our own selves, our own needs. I want you to think about the last time you were exhausted. How many of you can think about the last time you were really exhausted? Now, everyone that listens to this podcast can even relate to being exhausted. While we are experiencing a different view of how we got that way. We all know what exhaustion is from. Sometimes I'm so exhausted, I fight taking a power nap. So what my body does is I will fall asleep if I sit down for 1 second. See, body needs rest, and I keep ignoring that. How many of you have experienced exhaustion? Have you, Trish?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. How about burnout? Anybody feeling like you're just burnt out? Been that way. Too many meetings when I was teaching at school, having to be here, having to be there, parent conference, having to write a report. So if you are a teacher, you know the experience, but if you're not a teacher, how many of you have been just clearly burnt out?
I have.
Yeah. You're that way for a reason. Some of us feel prolonged stress, overwork. How do you handle that? See, because that's going to depend on how you view your well-being and your wellness. So today, I am encouraging each and every one of you to take care of yourself. I say that a lot when I'm talking to people. Take care of yourself. And I'm wondering what they think I mean. Taking care of yourself. Physically, how are you doing? Because that's part of your well-being. How do you feel? You know, people say, oh, you're not walking enough. My doctor began to tell me, and this is just in the last 3 weeks, how I'm feeling. Remember, the doctor doesn't tell us how we feel. We tell that doctor how to access us and how we're feeling. We don't just say, I didn't have anything else better to do. Hi, Brandon. Good morning. And where are you listening in from? We're talking about how our well-being is important. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to join and support our YouTube page under our same podcast radio show, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We are streaming wherever you're listening to your favorite podcast. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Brandon. Now, when we think about our physical wellness, how are we doing in that area? Emotionally, how do we feel? When we can access ourselves emotionally, when's the last time kindness was shown to you? When is the last time that you have shown it to others? Forgiveness. How are you managing your stress? We think about social wellness. We spend time together. You ask for help. Setting boundaries is my one that I'm working on. Setting boundaries. No one can set those boundaries like I can. What is safe for me and what is not for me. How about taking time out for your personal needs? Honoring your person, knowing yourself, gaining access to your personal wellness. How many of you have hobbies? New ones? Sometimes we talk about personal space. I know for me, even if a person gets too close to me, it's going to make me feel very smothered. So I need healthy space. And when we think about having our own space, what's that looking like for you? Your home. Think about our home and our safety. It should be a safety net. How many feel like your home is a safety net? Anybody?
I do.
Yeah. You know, when we are in our own space, whether it's our home, whether we're at college, whether we're at work, outside play, what does it look like? I was just talking the other day to someone, and we were talking about organization. Lord knows I need help with organization because I'm so not organized like I want to be. That's another thing I want to work on. Financially, everybody's struggling, so we think about our financial wellness. You say, I work, and I never see my money. But then there's some of us that have so much money, we don't know what to do. How is that looking, your financial wellness? I'm learning the value of emergency money. And we would be here all day if I told you why I needed to relearn that. For those of us who are working day to day, from job to job, paycheck to paycheck, there's always a break time. For those who are overworked, there is something to think about. Is your workplace positive? Because that all has to do with your well-being. It's not out of your control. I want you to ask for help. And if you don't get the help, I want you to ask for help. And if you still don't get the help, guess what I want you to do? Ask for help. That's for help. Because you know what? You may not always know how. And with Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, we're learning how. And one of the things is, if you don't always know how, I want you to learn. Be gentle with yourselves when it comes to your wellness? Ask yourself, how can you be more helpful? How many of you, if I were to tell you that your neighbor was sick and couldn't feed themselves or didn't have any money to feed themselves, but they're really sick, would without delay go and buy them groceries or get them something out of your home? The majority of us would respond, react, do something. I want you to take those words to yourself. You don't have to be sick, but you could be unwell or working on your wellness. Do something, react to that. Just as if you would if someone were to tell you someone nearby needed food. I want you to be clear, too, when you ask for help. When you ask for help, what can you ask for? Because you see, from the time we were very young, we were asked to help. You know that thing called doing chores? We learned how to help our parents during that time. And are you done with doing chores? How many of you are done with doing chores? We learn in our adult life that we are still doing chores. Would you like some help with those chores? I don't understand, and this has a lot to do with our wellness too. The people who clean the entire house by themselves. You may want to, but isn't it better to ask for help? As if you are the save all for the entire family. You know, I know a lot of people like this, and they say it as if they're some kind of hero. I had to clean the whole house by myself. No, you didn't have to, especially if there are other people in the house. You could have asked for help. You didn't have to do it. You felt like you had to do it. And then from that experience, you felt overwhelmingly tired because the same thing happens over and over again. That is why I'm saying ask for help. How many of you, when you think about your wellness, just ask for a friend to come over, or can you come over, or let's hang out? Are you guys still scared to do that? I've actually tried that, and people have tried it with me. And once you do it, you feel so much better. Did you even know that when you watch a movie, you can have someone watch a movie with you? Your life doesn't have to be boring or unwell. You can empower yourself by doing those things. Every one of us, young or old, needs some kind of play day. We're not talking about preschool and kindergarten. How many of us really get a play day outside of ourselves? You know, I mean, if you feel like getting on a swing or going down a slide, no one's going to shame you, but we're talking about some time where you can well yourself from all the normalcy of life. I want you to be able to look at your life, and I want you on this Wednesday Wellness to think about your wellness. Where is it headed at this moment in time? And I ask myself the same thing. Now, as you look at your mental, emotional, and social factor, how do you feel about yourself and your life? Your well-being is definitely connected to you, your happiness, and your life of satisfaction. So, would you say that it matters? Your wellness, being well, getting well, and staying well. If it isn't, it should mean something to you. It should mean you are worthy of your wellness. How many of you can remember that? Worthy of your wellness. We're going to be right back, I promise you. We're coming right back.
Cause we're on vibetalk, facing the lion podcast. Go check your favorite streaming platforms. Feel free to be interactive and tell us your story. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, YouTube, and so much more. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Go give it a shot. Facing the lion, facing the lion.
So we're back and we're talking about our well-being, your well-being. Connecting, gaining access to yourself brings you closer to yourself. And as you get closer to yourself, you're able to extend that access to other people. See, sometimes we do things backwards, We want to connect because we thrive. Even babies thrive off of human connection. You're not wrong, but as you are an adult, as you have lived your life, get connected to who you are, your value. Once you understand your core values and understanding yourself, I want you to take notice of who you are and what you are and why you are. And then learn from that. And then you can give to others as you're working on your well-being. I thought it was an interesting factor one day, and I began to really think about it. There was a woman in the store who was talking to someone else, and they asked the question, how are you doing? I wasn't in this conversation, but as an onlooker, I noticed the response of the other woman who answered the question how she was doing. She said, and I quote, I'm welling myself. Loved, love that. How many of us can say that? We hope that 2024 as you do 2024 that you're able to say that. So, how are you today? I want you to think about how you really are. Don't mask it. Because, see, 2024, when you're with Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast radio show, we want to know that you are welling yourself. Always stay connected with yourself. Because the more that you learn about yourself, the more that you grow. Even if you don't like yourself, I want you to make mention that you don't like yourself. See, we work on that in Vibe Talk. For all of you that say, I really don't like myself. See, you get to find out what is unwell about that. And believe me, we all have things that we don't like about ourselves. But once you notice that, you work on wellness, because if you don't like something about yourself, you are you, and there's nobody like you, says Dr. Seuss, somewhere, somehow. There's no one like you. So we want you to start welling yourself and asking yourself the more important question, what is it about me that I don't like? Because you know what we do in opposite? We say, why don't people like us? How many of us have said that, Trish? Have you ever said that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. But let's ask ourselves, let's be expectant of ourselves, to be able to connect with ourselves, to get inside of ourselves, because we hold the key as to why we don't like ourselves. See, if we don't know why we don't like ourselves, how can we expect to have an answer for somebody else? Get well, stay well, and be well. I want you to think about how we communicate with ourselves. We always ask questions in Vibe Talk. Has anyone noticed that out there? We ask a lot of questions, and sometimes people are intimidated by questions. When we ask you how you're doing, we want you to be able to think about, after you access how you're really doing, you're going to be able to go and ask other people, no, how are you doing? Because when they say I'm fine and they don't look fine, you're going to say, well, you don't look fine. Why is that? Because you have a connection with them. Think about it. We want you to really, really think about it. We want you also to take notice and be aware of your feelings. Sometimes in our feelings, we get triggered. Good morning. We get triggered. And we get triggered because something was said, done, and a memory took place. And that's all fine. As long as we can identify what those triggers are, the more we talk and work through together, the more you're able to understand. See, we're not doctors here, but we help you to access yourself. There's nothing like you being able to answer the questions to you, because no one is truer to you than you are. No one should be. You should be able to look at yourself and ask why, what, when. When you think about your life, I want you to think about enjoyment. You know, life is not all that bad. Things are happening that are pretty horrible. But even though things are happening, we can find some enjoyment out of life. We can do new things. How many of you have been to new places to eat or taken a different route somewhere? You know, every day I drive, I take the same route every day. Someone pointed that out to me, my nephew. Auntie, how do you take the same route every day? So I have to take a risk and do something different, take a different journey. And that could be in life too. Stop doing the same exact thing the same exact way. Change up, switch up. Sometimes we say, I'm cleaning up, cleaning, cleaning up. But how about Clear the Clutter Day? You had one of those. National Clear the Clutter Day. I've not heard one of those, but you could have one. You can clear the clutter that's in your mind, in your emotion, and in your places that you'd be surprised. Let's learn together. Always learning to get well, be well, and stay well. When we feel every day that we are learning to well ourselves, doesn't it create for us happier self-esteem? We ask you the question in our podcast, what did you learn in today's podcast? Because there's always a wake-up call. There's always an awareness of something that we've never discovered before. It's like a movie. I could watch a movie 10 or more times, and every time I watch the movie, I learn something new. Like, wow, I didn't see that the first time, the second time. Beaches is the movie for me. I love the movie Beaches with Barbara Hershey and Bette Midler. Now, I have seen that movie more than a dozen times. Good morning, and thank you for joining our podcast, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We're talking about being well, staying well, and getting well. So, how are you today, and where are you listening in from? Thank you for being here. So, what do we want to do? We want to feel well. And when we come back, we're going to talk. What state are you listening in from, please, and thank you. And I'm glad you're doing well. We're going to be right back. Missouri, thank you for joining us. We're back. And we're going to turn it over to Trish's Treasures. Trish, thank you for that. Missouri audience member.
So I have, last semester, I challenged myself for my personal well-being in hanging out with people. So last semester, we had we finished and we had a group project. And I'm not good with working with a group of people. And I challenged myself in saying, okay, we'll do a group project. And because we did that, we've gotten closer as classmates. And I saw how they were like amazing people. They were as kind and on the same level as I am. And that made me happy and comfortable with working with them. So they decided our last class, we are going to go to lunch and eat. And I said, I didn't agree to that. I didn't say, I didn't say I wanted to do that because I was scared. I was scared to hang out with them and go places. But they were like, come on, you gotta do it. This is our last time seeing each other for a long time. We don't know if we're gonna be in the same class again. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. So I went with them, and it wasn't as bad as my mind made it to be. It wasn't. And I'm glad I did that because now I know I can hang out with people and my trust issues, I need to work on them because it stops me from hanging out with people and getting to know others on a deeper level. So I had to do that for my well-being. So what I'm trying to say is step out of your comfort zone. It's okay to step out of your comfort zone. It's not easy, but sometimes you need to do that because it helps your well-being and how you live your life and how you take on the paths that you need to take for your well-being.
Thank you for Trisha's treasures. And by the way, Trisha is my co-host. Go and listen to Trisha's treasure. You can hashtag that. Trying to get her to do more with that because there's so much meaning to her message and her experience. So now that you and I have a clearer understanding of what your well-being is, how you feel about yourself and your life. We want to hear from you guys, how you're doing. You don't necessarily have to be part of our show, but if you run across this, we'd love to hear you answer and talk about things. We want to say, don't forget about Vibe Talk After Dark. Oh my goodness. Vibe Talk After Dark is such a beautiful way of communicating through music. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Instagram, and our YouTube page. I'm having fun with that. Come join us. Chill out. It's a smooth conversation, all about inspiration and what you want to talk about. Song dedications can start during the week. Doesn't have to be that Saturday night. Whatever song you want me to play, you can definitely post it. And we're looking forward to spending an evening with you this Saturday. And I'm going to play the theme song off that so you guys get used to it. Thanks to our very own Trish. that is for our Vibe Talk After Dark. We're so happy to have included that in our radio show. Smooth and chill, and it's about what you want to talk about. I'm so proud of that project, and thank you who have joined us. Go check that out. Trisha's already posted for our YouTube, and you can hear it wherever you listen to your podcast. Vibe Talk After Dark, affiliated with our daytime radio show podcast, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We are family. Our last question of the day. What did you learn and discover about today's Wednesday Wellness podcast? We're going to start with Trish. Trish.
I've learned that working on my well-being with some areas, especially my mentality, that it's a gradual thing, and that's okay, that it takes time to work on it. But what's important is I start working with myself and doing the work. And my experience here today was inspirational.
We promise to be inspirational, and thank you so much, Trish. And we know that our podcast has helped. Thank you, Missouri, for joining in with us today. If you hear our podcast, you can still be interactive, even though we may not be live. Go ahead and answer the questions. Today is Wednesday Wellness, and what I learned about today's podcast is to be able to respond in a more positive way when it comes to my own personal wellness. And once I do that, that's going to make me a healthier person, not just dismissing it, but knowing my needs. If I'm feeling tired, maybe I just need to rest for the day. And I'll tell you what, it's very hard for me, people, to do that because I throw myself into work because I like to work. No other reason than I like to work, and I'm loving our podcast and how it is growing. And I felt very motivated today. You want to get with me one-on-one to discuss what is on your mind, you are more than welcome to do that. And by the way, we're always accepting any donations. You don't have to. It's a free program, but if you'd like to, people have been asking me, and so here we are. We have meetings behind the scene. We'll have one today, and we're so grateful for everything. So, our Cash App is Vibe Talk Face the Lion, if you care to donate. If you don't, that's okay too, but it is there open for you guys. And there is no cost for a one-on-one with me, all done on voluntary donation. We appreciate you, and we thank you on this Wednesday Wellness for joining our radio show. We're hoping you're enjoying it. If you want to reach out to us about anything inspirational, any positive events you got going on, let us know. And we'll see you after dark Saturday. Don't forget about that. But before that, we will see you one more time this week. How are you doing? Get well, stay well, and be well. This is your Wednesday Wellness. Thank you so much for being a part of Vibe Talk Facing the Lion on this Wednesday Wellness. It's hard for me because I'm not focused on me. So what do you need to change about that? You need to focus on yourself. How do we do that? We don't become blind to everything around us, but we have an incredible desire to help ourselves. You know how people say, may I help you? Ask yourself, may I help myself? Give yourself permission to help yourself. Because if you're always thinking about making the change,